Hi, it's Larry Matter. Larry Miller. That's close enough. Hi, it's Larry Miller, and you're watching Comedy Matters TV with your host Jeffrey Gurian.
And shout out to Sirius XM.
And a shout out, whatever that means, to Sirius XM.
Hey, it's Jeffrey Gurian here at Sirius XM for Comedy Matters TV and the Ron and Fez show. And I'm here with my special guest today, Larry Miller. How are you, Larry?
All right, pal. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. What a fun time, man. We had a great time today.
There is nothing more fun than comedy, and we did have a good time today. And if it sounds too obvious to say that there's nothing more fun than comedy, it's not. Think about that. Comedy is far better than we all think. It's a great way to spend your life doing it, thinking of it, creating it, and giving it. It's a heck of a thing. And, well, nothing better than comedy.
That's right. Well, it's a healing force, is how I like to talk about it. It brings healing to the world. Well, as you said, what nicer thing can you do than to make people laugh? And, you know, I don't know if you heard about it yet, but I'm on the board of this group called Laugh MDs, and it's about bringing comedy to hospitals to help sick people get better. Because comedy releases endorphins, which is the pleasure chemical, and it helps people to heal.
I think so too. And there is no one who's laughed. I was in a hospital recently, and for me, by the way, I wasn't just visiting. And you know what? People there smiled and laughed so much. They love to. Not just patients. I mean, the people who work there, doctors and nurses, they have a great time. And it actually begins to scare you because you think, shouldn't they be more serious?
Yeah, right.
Because
Exactly.
as long as he's, you're holding my kidney. I wish you knew what you were doing. But the truth is they love comedy the same way everyone does, the same way I do and you do. And that's why it is such a great gift to give. What a realization that the really serious people of the world, and you can put serious in quotes, because they're not serious.
Right.
They're just idiots.
They think they're serious.
Yes.
Yeah.
They think, that's right, they think they're very heavy, interesting people, but they're not.
They're not, right?
They never are.
They never are.
You know this. If you had to go for a tax meeting, or if there was someone, anytime someone's giving a speech at the head economist of the guy who counsels this or that, and I'm just saying, you well know, even the other people like him don't want to hear him talk.
Exactly.
And so there's nothing better than hearing a good comedian or a great comedian talk about that guy or pretend to be that guy. I've done that before too, by the way, the head of the President's Council on Economic Advisors. That was my idea.
Oh, really?
To play that, to be, before you get known at all, before you've done really more than a few things on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I were introduced at that, it was at a corporate comedy job. And I'm laughing because it didn't go well. I'm laughing. No, it went very well, and I was asking, how are we doing, and do you have any suggestions? But then I would do my act. The act did very well. I don't think they wanted to hear my suggestions about the economy, and why would they? By the way, it was a good way to go on, and they were very nice, and I think they all said afterward things like, people would come up to you and go, I didn't think you were the head of the Council of Economic Advisors, because you used to be a professor of mine at Princeton. You're all right,
But you actually went up posing as the head of this council?
Yes.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. And,
and you made it funny, I'm sure.
yeah, well, don't be so sure. You know what? Yes, I did, and I loved doing it, loved being funny that way. But that's the thing, love being funny.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of things that I could have been. One time I was on the Carson show. I was there with Jimmy Brogan, in fact, and we set something up for me to do. Not being scared about anything like this. Now you're on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And I said, hey, if Brooke Shields wants to stay, tell her I'll do a bit where she puts a hat on. And we actually did something.
Did you?
And she had to leave. It always interests me when people have to leave, And I always said, well, even when I was a kid and I'd see Carson, do that, well, I know you have to go now, and you can't stay for our next guest. And at the time I thought, well, they have to go. I thought it was really official. That it was really official show business stuff. And then when you're lucky enough to start doing the show, you realize, Well, there's nothing official. It's 5:20
Right.
on a Wednesday.
Right. Where's so important? Where are you going, right?
And the answer is nothing and no one.
Right, exactly.
Nothing's happening. Well, I know you have to go now, but that's another great part of the gift of being a host. He made it sound like something really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go. He has to go. She has to go.
Gee, I wish I could go too.
Right. I wish I had to go somewhere instead of just do my homework. But
Exactly.
so the point is,
Eventually, everyone has to go. At some point, right?
yes, but it's
We
not
all
so
have to
funny
go,
then.
but it's not so funny.
And
No.
so we would write something before that and do it on the show. This is in terms of what are you scared of. I can look back on that and think, well, that was stupid, but it wasn't. It was sometimes you're on with a senator. I remember that with Senator John McCain, when he went right along with it. He went right.
Really, he has a sense of humor.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and
okay.
he didn't back off, and I didn't tell it to him beforehand. He just said on the panel, he just went with it as I did it, and I looked at him, realized this is a guy who's been a prisoner of war for 5 years, and
Yeah,
he's one of the bravest things anyone's ever done. But when I looked at him from sort of this position,
Yeah, right, yeah.
closer than this, I looked at his face and I thought to myself, I can't do this. I don't want to make him look silly so we did a piece of it, and he said afterwards, "Oh, you should go ahead and do whatever you want," And I realized this is a tough guy.
After you've been in a prisoner of war camp, I think you could probably handle just about anything.
That's exactly right. I think that if you've been,
If you've been tortured, then you could actually handle almost anything.
that's right. Then a comic from a few miles away teasing you is just fine.
It's just fine. Now, what's interesting, though, about comedy is that you can take something like you being in a coma and talk about that in such a humorous and healing way. And Larry, by the way, made a miraculous recovery back in 2012, and you were talking about that today. How long did that take you until you could look at that episode in a comedic way?
How long? Not long at all.
Really? Really?
Sure.
Yeah?
That's what folks don't understand about comedy, that it's ripe right then. And I had a brain injury. I was walking out of a small building. Okay, it was a bar. But it was, miraculous. People die from things like this, but I didn't. And I was telling Jeffrey, and I was on the show there with Ron and Fez, I was saying that what better thing to write about and perform about? That's why comedy is great. It's not that, ooh, Ixnay, you don't want to talk about that. Why not? Why the heck not? Why not talk about everything?
Well, you know what, though? I think it's up to the person who experienced the thing to talk about it. If other people made jokes about your situation, that's where I think it's questionable. But for you to talk about it yourself, I think that makes all the difference in the world.
I think you're right. That if someone else did it, it would feel to everyone to use it.
Well, some comics do this mean-spirited humor that I don't happen to agree with, where they're making fun of other people's tragedies, let's say. But when you want to talk about it yourself, it's perfectly fine to make it funny. I think that makes it more powerful.
Yeah. Well, you know and I know, and you all know out there, when someone does something mean-spirited in comedy, you know it in a second, and it's just not that funny. In fact, it's not funny at all.
That's right. Now, tonight, you're going to be funny. Larry is hosting Access TV's Gotham Comedy Live.
Right.
And then, tomorrow, he's off to Las Vegas to headline at Caesar's Palace with your old pal Jerry Seinfeld.
Well, it's a good couple of days in comedy.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing.
If you love this stuff, and I do, then that's good. After we talk here today, I'm going to walk back to the hotel, and that's nice. A stroll, when you haven't been in New York in a long time, a stroll about 10, 15 blocks is fun to do.
Nice, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Especially on a beautiful day like today.
It is a beautiful day, and it also makes you realize that you look at all the other people in the street, and you realize, well, if they're out, I can be out.
I can be out too, right?
It's people. Everyone knows this. Even I know when I'm in the street. You're in Times Square. You don't look that good. I don't look that good. You turn and look at someone and just go, oh golly. But that's part of the fun of Times Square.
Absolutely.
For me.
Absolutely. And part of the fun for me about today was that you were my first interview for the book on the comic strip for Make 'Em Laugh, which was great. such wonderful stories that you shared with me about those early days in comedy. It was amazing.
It's a good book, folks. You should buy it. It's called Make 'Em Laugh. Jeffrey wrote it. And yeah, there's nothing better. See, that's when an outside voice is good. An outside commentator, an objective voice. And you did it well.
Thank you, man. It was so great to see you.
Same here.
Thanks so much for coming on. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tonight. I'll be there to cheer you on tonight.
Good.
It'll be great.
Folks, see you around.